Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is What If Betrayed Naruto returns after 5-year part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Flashback. What we did. We did nothing. Nothing. It was Obito who did everything. He survived his death all those years ago, Kakashi. Believe it or not, Madara did not die at the hands of Senju Hashirama. He made everyone think and believe it in order to prepare his plan for the future. But he got old and his injuries fighting Hashirama were piling up. When Obito died, in the mission your team had, Madara saved his body, and brought him back to be his, well, I guess you could say apprentice to carry on his work. After Madara did die, Obito was strong enough at the time, and went out into the world to find you. To find Rin. Let them know he was alive. He planned to come back to Konoha to tell them what happened and hoped to be welcomed with open arms. The only problem with that was when he finally found you and Rin, he saw you had driven your prized assassination jutsu through her chest, replied Naruto, since he made sure to disable Obito's powers before he made the Uchiha confess everything since Madara saved his life. He saw that? Asked Kakashi in horror since he didn't want to do it, but had no choice in the matter. Rin had been turned into a Jinchuriki with an unstable seal. He had no choice, but to kill her in order to save Konoha. Yes he did. Your former teammate went psycho because of it. He realized the only way to see Rin again was under a powerful genjutsu his Sharingan has with the Tsukuyomi, but on grander scale. Using the 9 Biju sealed into one entity that was the Jubi, which the Sage of Sixth Paths once fought, he would possess the beast, its power, and use the genjutsu on the moon to create the infinite Tsukuyomi, so everyone would be affected by it. With him in control, everything would be as he wanted it, and Obito would have his precious Rin back. Even if the girl herself was just a fake illusion formed from his own mind, answered Naruto while Kakashi had no idea that would happen thanks to his actions. I made Obito go insane. Thought Kakashi in horror at the realization. So the man set things into motion. First, he made the Mizukage, and Jinchuriki Yagura become his puppet before ordering the man to have a bloodline purge. Of course, he did need some form of justification for the move, or else the Mizukage's actions would look weird to people both inside and outside of Kiri. Hence why he influenced the Kagaya clan with his Sharingan to make them give into their bloodlust. After attacking Kiri, the people within the village would support such a move made by the Mizukage. At the same time, Obito knew the people with bloodlines would either die, flee, or fight back against Yagura. The latter of the three would further weaken Kiri further in the process when it was over, so no one with bloodlines there could oppose the Sharingan or possible oppose him. Since Kiri turned Rin into an unstable Jinchuriki, he felt it was only fitting to use it against them. I imagine he took their actions against her personally. Though your actions didn't help much either, replied Naruto coldly at the end. I didn't want to kill Rin. She was my teammate. My friend. You said it yourself. She had become a Jinchuriki of the 3 tails and her seal used was unstable. It was the only way to save Konoha. To save her, said Kakashi while whispering the last part. Don't feed me that crap, Kakashi. Konoha had 3 skilled seal masters at the time of the incident. Ero Sennin, my father, and my mother. Either one of them could have fixed the seal to prevent her from being turned into a ticking time bomb. Not to mention my mother had her chakra chains, so even if the Biju got out, the 3 tails could have been restrained from causing additional damage like Kiri wanted, said Naruto while Kakashi winced since he realized his actions had been the easy way out and didn't think things through at the time. He's right. I acted irrationally. I could have hurried Rin over to Minato or Kushina if I wanted and they could have fixed the seal to keep her from dying. I was a fool. Thought Kakashi while the guilt of that moment only increased. He knows about his parents. How? Who told him? Did the Uzumaki clan? Thought Danzo, Hiruzen, Homura, and Kaharu while discreetly glancing at the other Uzumaki clan members. After I killed Obito, I decided Nagato here deserved a second chance at life since Danzo nearly ruined it from the start, and my cousin was reduced to being crippled with puppets being his means of using his power. Fortunately, I had found yet another Uzumaki clan member named Karen, who was once with Orochimaru of all people for a time as his subordinate, and with special healing abilities she possessed I was able to have her heal him, replied Naruto before he refocused on Sasuke. If you think I will be intimidated by your clan, then you are mistaken, demon filth. Look around us. Do you really think these other shinobi villages will tolerate your clan being here? They easily will side with Konoha and do what they tried to do during the Second Shinobi War by ending the Uzumaki clan once and for all, said Danzo while glaring at the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Oh really? Tell me, Tsuchikage-sama, will you side with Konoha if we choose to get violent here today? Questioned Naruto while the old Kage grunted from his position and surprised Danzo by glaring at him. Never. I know it was him and his root filth that tried to kidnap my granddaughter last year so she could be used as a breeding factory in secret. Even worse, he planned to have the Uchiha brat here be among the ones to violate her in the hopes that she would one day give Konoha a strong child through their combined genetics. Replied the Tsuchikage in anger while his granddaughter glared at the Uchiha. Yes, I know. I tipped you off about that. And I was the one who helped kill half of those root nin while your granddaughter did the rest. I trust that makes things even between Iwa and my family on my father's side, said Naruto with the Tsuchikage nodding since he knew that while Iwa still had some bad blood against the Yondaime Hokage, his son had basically cleared the slate by stopping Konoha from succeeding in such a vile act. So what? Iwa is weak. We still have Kumo, countered Danzo with Naruto smirking. If the Sandaime Raikage was still in power, you might be right about that. But the man over there is not the Sandaime Raikage. He is the Yondaime Raikage and his brother also happens to be the eight-tailed Jinchuriki on his right and there is still the Niyugito on his left who is the two-tailed Jinchuriki. Also, I made Kumo aware that it was because of you that Konoha accused their village of stealing Hinata that night, answered Naruto while Danzo now began to sweat at that while Hiashi looked confused and Hinata looked shocked. What do you mean? Of course Kumo did it. I killed the head ninja ambassador myself that night while he held the back holding Hinata. Protested Hiashi while Naruto nodding that much was true. Yes. The head ninja ambassador from Kumo did steal Hinata-chan that night. But he did not do it under the orders of Kumo in any shape or form. He did it because Danzo ordered him to do it. You see. That man was not a real Kumo shinobi. He was a root nin spying for Danzo to find out the identities of other Jinchuriki in Kumo. Danzo didn't want just one powerful Biju or Jinchuriki in Konoha. He wanted as many of us as possible to be brought back to fight for this village as violent weapons of war under his command. But unlike myself and the Mizukage, the other villages kept theirs a secret for security reasons. The head ninja was in fact his spy to find them in Kumo, but the Yondaime Raikage had appointed the man as the ambassador to broker the desired peace treaty with Konoha before he could find out. To that end, Danzo decided to create a certain situation we are all familiar with. Only his plan involved the aftermath of the incident being very much different, where Kumo would have to give Konoha at least one of their Jinchuriki as reparations for violating the peace treaty signed that very night, answered Naruto while Hiashi glared at Danzo for this since it cost him his twin brother and gained him the scorn of his nephew Neji in the process. That's why he was able to get so far with Hinata when I saw him that night, whispered Hiashi with Naruto nodding. What Danzo didn't suspect was a certain blonde-haired boy, who had been kicked out of the orphanage that very night spiking his chakra in anger. That chakra spike easily told you something was off because it was so close to your clan home. After that, well, you all know the rest. The head ninja ambassador was killed by a citizen of Konoha. Kumo had perfect deniability on their end since no one gave the order to him. There was no true way to prove the man did what Konoha accused him of doing for Kumo, since instant death by gentle fist basically wiped out his mind, so a Yamanaka couldn't find actually anything in his head that would be called incriminating. Not that it mattered, since I suspect Danzo would have had his root nin from the Yamanaka clan do the scan to not only wipe out his own involvement, but plant false proof to get what he wanted from Kumo for when he planned to have the man captured for interrogation, said Naruto while Hiashi felt like he was going to have a heart attack. My own family, my brother, used like pawns for a nefarious scheme, and all for a plan I never thought would happen within this village. I'm truly sorry, Hazashi. You may have been the second born between us, but you were far more worthy of being clan head than I, thought Hiashi while tears now descended from his eyes, and it shocked Neji, currently standing beside his uncle. It was basically Konoha's word against Kumo's, and at the time, the latter had the upper hand in terms of muscle to fight the former. Not surprising, since Kumo had two well-trained Jinchuriki from against one from Konoha that did not appreciate him and was too young to fight back. So Hiruzen did the only thing he could do in this situation to show his village was the better one in a moral sense, if you will. He decided to bend the knee like a good little politician and offered Hyuga Hiashi up as a peace offering. The man didn't even consider the idea of any other form of appeasement. Just sacrifice the Hyuga clan head and be done with it. Like ripping off a bandage and throw the bandage away in the trash. What no one outside of those who were part of the conspiracy on Konoha's side realized was his twin brother, Hyuga Hazashi, had the cage bird seal, and took Hiashi's place. Also, there would be peace between the two villages, and to ensure Kumo still could not get the Byakugan, thus protect the Hyuga clan. Now there was a brave man worthy of being Hokage. Because unlike the former Sandaime and Danzo here, that man chose to make the sacrificial play for the good of all so everyone else could live, said Naruto while Danzo grit his teeth since he recalled how his plan failed because of what Hiashi did. Though he had no idea Naruto had accidentally participated in the event. Kumo wanted peace with Konoha. When we heard that Konoha had killed my chosen ambassador in the middle of the night and even accusing him of kidnapping the Hyuga heiress, I demanded justice. Justice for the life they had taken, justice for the lie they were telling, and justice for violating a peace treaty so soon after it had been signed. Of course, had I known the ambassador I sent was in fact a root nin spy, I would have spit on his grave, and destroyed the grave marker, said a while he glared at Danzo for his actions that nearly brought about a war between the two villages. As for Suna, I doubt the current cage will side with you, Danzo. After all, Gaara is not only a fellow Jinchuriki, but a dear friend of mine, and I fixed his seal so it wouldn't cause him insomnia problems. Not to mention it was because myself and my clan's own advice to him that he is on good terms with his siblings. Even his former Junin sensei is his most trusted advisor, said Naruto while Gaara nodded, and the Uzumaki clan head knew he had the support of Suna in this matter. This can't be happening, thought Danzo while wondering why there weren't more of his root coming out of the shadows to protect him. Kiri won't fight for you here either because of what one member of the Uchiha clan did to their previous Mizukage and the fact you exploited those with bloodlines running away from the civil war. How you captured so many refugees, taking them underneath Konoha to be conditioned as root nins or for breeding purposes. You even provided intel to one side or the other to keep the civil war in Kiri from ending too soon, Danzo, added Naruto while smirking at the current look on Danzo's face, telling him that the old war hawk was no doubt thinking. No doubt wondering where his precious root nin in the shadows were and why they weren't here to help him. Damn it, how does he know this? And where are my root? Thought Danzo while he glanced at the shadows for his forces. And found nothing. Where were they? If you think I would fight for such an ugly man like you, Danzo, then your eyesight has clearly aged with the rest of your body, remarked Harumi May while her eyes gleamed with bloodlust at the old war hawk. See, Danzo, you are alone. You have nothing. No one will save you now, remarked Naruto in cold tone. You forget, boy, that I am the Hokage, and as such I command every ninja in this village whether they like it or not. I outnumber you with my forces in this room regardless if the cages here don't fight for me, remarked Danzo while Naruto chuckled at his choice of words in saying the other cages would fight for him and not beside him in this matter. Ah yes. Now on to the fact that your root nin who were hiding in the shadows of this place have not shown up to come to your defense. What many in this room don't know, is that Danzo had an army of root nin hidden in the shadows of this place. Also he could give the order to massacre every important person not from Konoha once the wedding was over. All in the name of the greater good, when in fact, it would just be for Danzo's benefit. To use the ensuing chaos of all 4 villages being leaderless so he could order his forces to take out the other shinobi villages. Also he could claim the spoils of war for himself. Not Konoha. Himself. So he could write the history books of Konoha with their blood and call himself the greatest Hokage ever due to his schemes ending the other 4 major shinobi villages. Something I made sure each cage here with the exception of Danzo, for obvious reasons, were aware of before coming here, explained Naruto while Danzo's face went as pale as Orochimaru's at being caught with his secret plot exposed. This can't be happening, thought Danzo while seeing many of the shinobi from the other 4 villages stand up and revealed their hidden weapons while glaring at the war hawk. As for those hiding in the shadows, I politely asked the lovely Mizukage here if I could borrow 1 if not 2 of her Kiri shinobi. She was most generous when I asked for 2 of them specifically, added Naruto while giving Sasuke and Kakashi a knowing look, but the 2 were still in the dark about his words. Flatterer. If only you weren't taken with the Hyuga and I wasn't now married to my own man. What a husband you would have made me, thought Mei while glancing at Naruto and at the Hyuga girl. Well, what did you expect, Gaki? One doesn't say no to the Crimson Uzu and walk away without some kind of injury, remarked a familiar voice that Kakashi knew all too well and saw Zabuza appear from the shadows of the ceiling above with a familiar masked hunter nin by his side. Zabuza. And Haku! Exclaimed Kakashi while Zabuza grinned behind his bandages. That's right. I got to say Kakashi, you bet on the wrong horse when it came to seeing who had the greatest potential in your genin team. The pink-haired one had no business being a genin. The Uchiha was a power-hungry idiot like the rest of his clan. As for the blonde here, let's just say if I had known of his potential all those years ago, I would have tried to recruit, and trained him to be an unstoppable juggernaut, replied Zabuza with a chuckle and gave Naruto a small salute while Haku gave a nod. He really did owe the kid. Not only did the brat become a strong shinobi, he helped with his clan take down Yagura, and reveal the man was not the monster everyone thought him to be when ruling over Kiri. Yagura was still alive, living in seclusion away from all of this, as he had been racked with guilt over the issue, and wanted to live a life away from the bloodshed and violence. Zabuza met him after Mei had become Mizukage and stabilized Kiri enough that he could meet the woman's predecessor. It was clear to the demon of the mist that Yagura would be filled with shame and regret for the rest of his life, even if the Jinchuriki wasn't in his right mind thanks to the Sharingan. It was enough punishment in Zabuza's mind when meeting the man to discuss his past as the Mizukage of Kiri and the horror he had unleashed as a puppet ruler. As far as either man was concerned, the psycho that was the Yondaime Mizukage was dead. As far as the world was concerned, the evil tyrant Yagura was dead, and the man had no intention of returning unless absolutely necessary to prevent some kind of end of the world moment in time. Which brings us back to the Uchiha and all those who had a hand in the suffering of others inside and outside of its walls in the pursuit of power, remarked Naruto while he grinned deviously at Sasuke. It doesn't matter who is on your side, loser. I am an Uchiha, an elite. I am Kami's gift to these people. I am the reason these pathetic weaklings live and I have the power to make them all die. Exclaimed Sasuke with his anger clearly reaching or rather breaching the realm of insanity. Oh really? Because you didn't make me die the last time we saw each other, Sasuke. Oh, and unlike last time, I have no intention of being your pawn, shield, or sacrifice to pull off a win, taunted Naruto while Sasuke grit his teeth and tried to form another Chidori with his other arm. This time I will kill you. I will do it in front of the Hyuga bitch here. All she did when everyone believed you were dead was hurt anyone bad-mouthing your memory. This insufferable woman truly loves you. Everyone knew it. Everyone thought it was funny how the one stupid girl in this whole stupid village actually liked the stupidest person in it. Exclaimed Sasuke with insanity in his eyes when talking. I know Sasuke. I am well aware of Hinata-chan's feelings. Thanks to my clan, I saw how much of an idiot I was for not seeing it. Shame it couldn't be said about you and Sakura. Though I doubt you cared about her despite knowing the Banshee's feelings towards you being on a fanatical level. I mean, given how she was nothing more than a Uchiha-loving slut, who would spread her legs for you if asked, isn't much of a comparison to Hinata-chan, remarked Naruto while Sasuke's eyes narrowed before they widened in realization at what he was referring to about Sakura. It was you. You killed Sakura, exclaimed Sasuke while Naruto smirked at him. Yes, I did. What's your point? I thought you didn't like her. Asked Naruto casually while he saw many were shocked the blonde had in fact killed his own former teammate. I didn't like her. She was a useless fangirl, who only got promoted to Chunin due to her book smarts and taking a written test. But I never thought you of all people would kill her given your crush on Sakura, replied Sasuke while Naruto shrugged. Flashback end. What can I say? The bitch wasn't my type. At the same time, I wanted to see just how far lost she truly was in terms of being my teammate, and as a friend. She didn't know who I was at first. Meeting me on her mission and thought I was a harmless wanderer. The girl never even considered I could be someone important, high standing, or even a dangerous missing nin. Our so-called sensei really dropped the ball when it came to training her to look underneath the underneath. Though what would expect when he spent most of his time training a brooding emo determined to avenge his clan. Anyway, when I finally did mention myself in third person in an offhanded way, I saw Sakura's true colors, and they were not pretty in the slightest. She went on and on about me being a loser. How she was glad I was dead so she didn't have to deal with my annoying self, as Sakura put it. How she could spend her time focusing on how to get your affection while not having to deal with mine. How to one day make you finally confess your love for her and settle down to form a family together. How her only regret was not having helped you in killing me in order to form that special bond lovers need to really connect with one another, explained Naruto while seeing not many of those in the room were shocked that Sakura said those things about him. It clearly meant that day wasn't the first time she said those things in front of other people when Naruto was mentioned around her. So you killed her. Out of what? Anger? Spite? Knowing she had wanted me and would never love you? Demanded Sasuke while his Chidori was ready to be launched from his remaining working hand. Please. I killed her because she was a bitch. A loyal lapdog of the people in this village, who would sooner spit on my father's sacrifice to save them all from death, than even make the effort in getting to know me. They didn't care about my father or my mother. It didn't matter he was the Hokage and she was his wife. All that mattered to them was that someone suffered and they chose me. Even some of these people knew who my parents were, but did they care? No. Just as they don't really care about you, Sasuke. You think these people care about you being an Uchiha? Ha. They only care about your eyes and the ability to help make more Uchiha babies. Take that away and what do the people see? A pathetic waste of space they would sooner walk over or step on if it meant getting to their next destination in life. You don't matter, Sasuke. Only your bloodline and dojutsu do, replied Naruto while Sasuke looked livid. It doesn't matter. When I'm Hokage, I will make everyone understand what it means to cross me, or make themselves believe they are my equal. I will see to it that everything and everyone is controlled by the Uchiha clan. Finances, jutsus, the people whether they are civilians, shinobi, or those from clans. Even the bloodlines themselves will be the property of the Uchiha clan. Exclaimed Sasuke before charging forward to end Naruto's life. Still thinking with all the muscles except the one that counts, and even then, it's decayed to the point of being useless even if he used it, thought Naruto before moving faster than anyone thought possible in a crimson flash before appearing behind the Uchiha. And within mere moments, saw Uchiha Sasuke becoming bloody meat chunks falling to the ground. He just killed Sasuke like it was nothing. Thought everyone who didn't know the extent of Naruto's skills. That everyone is how you deal with those who spread the curse of hatred to others around them. You don't tolerate them. You don't embrace them in friendship in hopes that it will make them grow some kind of conscience and stop being evil. You don't spoil them with countless offerings of money, jutsus, and promises of being in a position of power. You kill them. That is what you do. You stamp it out by putting your foot to their throat and make it go crunch. Exclaimed Naruto while glaring at Danzo now, knowing full well the man not only protected the curse of hatred in Sasuke, but encouraged the curse of hatred to spread throughout the village to use as a tool, and a weapon for his own schemes. And he wasn't alone in that regard either. Naruto, stop this. You've made your point. There is no need for further bloodshed, said Hiruzen in order to appeal to the boy he once knew. That is where you are wrong, old monkey. You see, this village owes the Uzumaki clan, myself, and every village here a big fat debt. A debt that will be paid in blood and with the lives of those who demand it be paid in full. Fortunately, a good chunk of the people who owe us this massive debt are all here in this temple where this unholy wedding was to take place, replied Naruto while Hiruzen began to sweat heavily. For someone who says we should stamp out the curse of hatred, you are embracing it quite well, Gaki. I didn't think you would be a hypocrite of all things. Your parents would be ashamed of you. Protested Jiraiya while Naruto laughed. Really? This coming from the man who forsook his own godson? Who left him to the whims and machinations of the village that hated him? Of course, what would I expect from a man who betrayed his own teammate years ago by having her lover Dan and her brother Naoki killed, replied Naruto with Jiraiya jerking his head back like he had been hit. What? Asked Jiraiya nervously. Come now, Jiraiya. Don't deny it. We both know you and Danzo each had a hand in the death of those two. Dan's mission at the time was top secret. Few knew about it, yet he was ambushed all the same by enemy shinobi in the end. How do you think that could have happened? It couldn't have happened, unless someone on the inside made it happen so Tsunade wouldn't marry Dan in the future. That someone was you, Jiraiya, replied Naruto with Jiraiya sputtering some kind of excuse. You have no proof. Jiraiya eventually protested. Now you see, that is where you are wrong. After I helped out the Tsuchikage with the issue surrounding his granddaughter, he decided to give me some information about that moment in time. You see, Iowa shinobi were indeed the ones responsible for killing Dan during that secret mission, but they would have never known about him actually being a Konoha shinobi had they not been tipped off by one of your spies from your network. Your spy tipped them off on your orders, Jiraiya. I have seen the proof myself, and just so you know, Tsunade and Shizune have too, replied Naruto with Jiraiya going pale in the face to the point where he could have been mistaken for Orochimaru. They know, whispered Jiraiya fearfully. I also know it was through your spy network and Danzo's machination that her brother, Senju Naoki, died during his mission too. Though why you got involved in that mess is a bit of a puzzle since you gained nothing from the boy's death. So why help Danzo kill the boy in the first place? Questioned Naruto with Jiraiya glancing at Danzo. I helped because the bloodline limit of the Senju was dying out. Tsunade couldn't use it and Naoki was questionable at best. They were the last two Senju in existence without the Mokuden bloodline to back it up. Orochimaru and Danzo approached me and Hiruzen about the possibility of keeping the Mokuden alive through those outside of the clan via human experimentation. Basically, blood splicing Senju blood with other people to give them the ability to produce the Mokuden that Hashirama could use, if not the sweetened skills Tobirama himself had. We had some of Hashirama's blood and cells on file for possible use, but they were old, and slightly decayed from being in the cold storage unit for so long. Orochimaru theorized we could rejuvenate them if mixed with blood of someone who was a direct descendant of his line. Nawaki was the only option since tests showed Tsunade's ability to use it was dormant as a recessive trait. By mixing the power behind the old blood of Hashirama with the new blood of his grandson Nawaki, Orochimaru believed we could bring about the maximum potential for the Mokuton to come out in a test subject, replied Jiraiya while Naruto shook his head. And in all the illegal experiments done to people, only one person survived the process in using the Mokuton. Even then, it was a shadow of what Hashirama himself could have done at his weakest. All he could do was the standard Mokuton. He didn't even have the ability to suppress a Biju like Hashirama could with his own bloodline, remarked Naruto while Jiraiya flinched. I know. And I'm sorry, replied Jiraiya before Killer Intent shot down at him from above and he slowly, if not fearfully, looked up. Sorry. You're sorry. Clearly you're not sorry enough, exclaimed Tsunade, who had leapt from her position above, having heard everything, and descended down on Jiraiya. Oh shit, whispered Jiraiya while seeing an angry Tsunade in full-fledged Uzumaki clan ninja gear heading his way. And tore right into him with a single punch with the Toad Sage's body exploding when Tsunade made contact with his form. Blood, guts, bone, and flesh exploded everywhere while those around the impact zone were sent flying in the process. No one from Konoha could move, much less process in their minds what just happened, and those that could were actually quite scared. Tsunade, stop this madness. You are a Senju. Your grandfather and granduncle would not have wanted this, protested Hiruzen before he was grabbed by the woman and came face to face with her blood-soaked form. My family on both sides have been bled dry by this village. The Senju and the Uzumaki clans were always the first to defend Konoha and the last to gain anything in return from it. We didn't mind it since we loved this village and we were proud to fight for it. But we also expected that such loyalty and love would be returned by those we gave it to in the process. Give and take, sensei. You didn't give it back. You just took it and never once tried to return it, exclaimed Tsunade angrily at him. I know. I was jealous. Jealous of the Senju and Uzumaki clan. All that power. All those skills I could never hope to achieve. All within clans greater than mine. I was constantly in the shadow of both and I couldn't get around it. When the opportunity came to weaken or remove either clan from the history books and memories of the next generation, I took it, confessed Hiruzen while Tsunade looked even angrier. Yet you kept the Uchiha clan around. The traitors and usurpers of life itself, exclaimed Tsunade with Hiruzen wincing. They were next. Your granduncle planted the seeds of distrust years ago when he was the Hokage. Danzo and I merely allowed it to grow. After the Kyuubi attack, many were easily convinced someone from the Uchiha clan had something to do with it. Eventually, the Uchiha clan could not take all the resentment the village was actually showing them, and planned a coup against the village to take control. We used it as an excuse to use one of their own to spy and eventually kill off the clan to leave a single remaining survivor in the form of Uchiha Sasuke. We decided to keep the Uchiha clan alive because of their eyes being capable of controlling the Biju and the bloodline itself was more reliable in awakening than the Mokuton or the chakra chains some of the Uzumaki clan possessed, replied Hiruzen while his conspirators on the issue scowled at him for confessing this to Tsunade. And mold them into a clan you could control without them even knowing it. Inflate their ego, make them loved, and important all the while using it as a means to manipulate them into being your puppets, concluded Tsunade with Hiruzen nodding. Yes, was Hiruzen's simple reply. To think at one point I admired you. That at one point, I saw you as a second father to me when mine died. Now I see that you as just a crippled old man with delusions of grandeur, said Tsunade before she ripped the old man's heart right out and crushed it in her hands. Tsunade. You had no right to do that to Hiruzen, protested Koharu angrily. Actually, we have every right. Which is why I think it's only fair, given Konoha's own version of providing us with such generous hospitality today at this wedding, that we in turn, give it back. Replied Naruto before snapping his fingers with the sound echoing throughout the temple. And it was in that moment, all hell broke loose. Ninja from the other 4 shinobi villages, the Uzumaki clan, Hinata, and Naruto soon moved as a single entity. The remaining root nin around Danzo were killed, Homura and Kaharu were slain by Konan, and Nagato basically tore into anyone from Konoha that got in his way. Hinata herself had killed the fire monk when he tried to move to attack Naruto, while Naruto himself cut through the entire civilian council trying to flee for their miserable lives. In fact, many of the people from Konoha, who were slain in the temple, and not subdued, were in fact those who supported the actions of its leaders. The rookies nor their senseis were killed, though, since Naruto didn't want all of Konoha to die simply because of the actions of a few in high places. That would be wrong. That would allow for the curse of hatred to live on in themselves and be hypocrites. Konoha could still be a great shinobi village again, but only after being properly trimmed of the poisonous branches and roots responsible for its decaying presence in the world. Besides, Naruto was confident Konohamaru would make a great Hokage one day. The boy had grown up over the years to be a competent ninja since they last saw each other when Naruto himself was just a 12-year-old fresh out of the academy. In time, the boy would get out of his grandfather's vile shadow, and be a true Hokage like he wanted to be from the start. When it was all over, many from Konoha were dead within the temple currently stained red with blood. Those that were not killed were handpicked by Naruto to be captured, restrained, and let their fate be decided later on. But for the most part, they had nothing to worry about, since the ones Naruto wanted killed were the mindless, arrogant pricks in the village, and the officials who were allowing corrupt things to happen in it. The only one not accounted among the dead or captured was Danzo. "I sense him. He won't get far," remarked Nagato before he, Konan, Hinata, and Naruto went to pursue the man. "Are you sure you want to ruin your wedding dress in this fight, Hinata-chan? I mean, it's already ruined with being torn up and covered in blood, but still, do you want to make it worse? It actually looked good on you when it was whole," questioned Naruto while he saw Hinata's wedding dress had seen better days, and yet despite the garment being put in the state it was in now, she still looked sexy. "That man used my clan for his own ambitions, Naruto-kun. He wanted to use you as a weapon of war. I lost my uncle thanks to his machinations. The man deserves to die," stated Hinata while Naruto whistled at her words. "Damn, you sound so fierce right now, Hinata-chan. It's such a turn on," remarked Naruto while Hinata blushed a nice shade of red. Don't say things like that. I'm somewhat mad at you for making me think you were dead all this time," replied Hinata while trying to be angry, but found herself unable to be when it came to him. Damn his charming smile. "Hey, you two can catch up and be all lovey-dovey later. We have an old war hawk to kill. Make out time comes about after he's dead," commented Nagato with Naruto and Hinata blushing. "Oh, like you are one to talk. I seem to recall you and Konan getting all lovey-dovey in the afternoon just yesterday," countered Naruto with Nagato and Konan now blushing at the fact they were caught like that. "I told you someone was watching us," whispered Konan while red-faced and giving Nagato a "I told you so," mixed with a "you are making this up to me later" glare. "Sorry," whispered Nagato before they found Danzo trying to run through the streets of Konoha and trying to free his hidden limb. Not easy when you are a very old man with a cane and chakra doing only so much to help lighten the load of being elderly. "Going somewhere, Danzo? I thought a Hokage was supposed to stand and fight against all odds for the good of Konoha," questioned Naruto in a taunting manner. "Hardly. The Hokage is the most valuable person in all of Konoha. Only the Hokage can run the village, and therefore the Hokage must never fight unless absolutely necessary. In fact, it is the duty of every shinobi in the village to defend him with their lives, and give them when necessary to ensure the life of the Hokage is never taken," replied Danzo while freeing his arm Orochimaru created for him. "Damn, that thing is fucking ugly," commented Nagato at seeing the deformed arm with all of those Sharingan eyes grafted into it. "Bullshit. If what you say is true, then why usurp those who came before you as Hokage? Why usurp the Sandaime? Or my father the Yondaime Hokage. Don't bother denying it, Danzo. I know you tried to gain power in secret during both their times as Hokage. You even did it during the time when the Nadaime Hokage was still alive, countered Naruto while Danzo scowled further. Because none of them were worthy of being the Hokage. I was the only one. Me. Those fools wanted the love of the people in order to unite them. Instead, they should have just forced them to obey rather than asking, and used their superior skills to enforce it. Such weak emotional sentiment toward people make ninja weak. Exclaimed Danzo while he ripped off the bandage on his face to reveal his Sharingan eye. For an old man, you sure do sound like a whiny little child seeing every other child get the one toy you want, but you yourself can't have. And to make matters worse, you even decide to make everyone else who does have said toy very miserable, remarked Nagato while Danzo glared at him. I don't have to justify myself to you or the Uzumaki clan, replied Danzo while Naruto just smirked. I don't expect you to justify it, Danzo. You have nothing on hand to possibly justify your past actions. You can claim to be a patriot of Konoha all you want. But we know for a fact, you did all the things you did for yourself. Not Konoha. Just you. You sacrificed everyone and everything around you carelessly just to stay alive a little bit longer. But what happens when there is nothing on your side left to sacrifice, but yourself? What will you do then, Danzo? Questioned Naruto while Danzo started to build up his chakra to use his various Mokuden jutsus taken from the Senju clan in order to combat them. Only to find his enhanced arm to be hit all over with Senbon needles and what looked like kunai made of bone. Sorry I was late, Naruto-sama. I was delayed by the remaining detachment of root nin you ordered me to kill, said Kimimaro while Haku appeared beside him as well. Nonsense, Kimimaro. You were right on time. Same with you, Haku. Good job with the use of your deadly precision with the needles and bone kunai on your part. As always, it is most impressive, replied Naruto with both bowing slightly at his praise. My Sharingan eyes. Each one on my arm was hit. I can't use the Mokuden jutsus or the Izanagi if they hit me with a lethal attack. Thought Danzo before turning to see Naruto walking toward him. I would have let Nagato and Konan kill you for what was done to them, but something tells me if we drag this out, you'll do something dangerous, and desperate to kill us all. So I'm going to end this quickly so your backup plan doesn't even have a small percentage of success, remarked Naruto while sword in its sheath seemed to glow like it was eager to kill its intended target. You won't get the chance to stop me. I won't allow you to outlive me in this world. I am its one true god. I was meant to live forever and rule over everyone around me. Not you. Not the Yondaime. Not the Sandaime. Not Orochimaru or the Akatsuki. I was going to be this world's savior. Exclaimed Danzo with the madness in his eyes clearly showing while exposing his chest for the seal on it to appear. Well, will you look at that, the old man does have emotions after all. I owe Naruto some money. Damn, remarked Nagato with a smirk. A savior saves the world from destruction, Danzo. They don't enslave it like you wanted to do. Your description of yourself in more along the lines of that of a tyrant, whispered Naruto before he moved too fast for Danzo's remaining Sharingan eye to track. Almost a second later, Naruto shot his sword out of his sheath, and cut right through the war hawk in two horizontally right down the middle where the complex seal on his body was located. Danzo sputtered out a gurgled curse at the blonde as he fell backwards, his wounds already cauterizing after being sliced open by the heat from the blade. He also felt both of his arms had also been taken off at the elbow and could barely even look up from his down position on the ground. You stupid brat. Don't you get it? The world will not stop fighting unless a central force or entity is the one controlling the rest of the world. Konoha was going to be that central force. That entity. Without the other shinobi villages to stop us, we could have moved into an era of controlled peace. We could have kept all the future wars this world went through small and controllable, but still necessary to advance ourselves from becoming stagnant. Without someone like me in charge of this village, this world will continue to fall into chaos, and will only get worse as time goes by. Stated Danzo while seeing his enemies surround him. If that were true, Danzo, you wouldn't have caused so much pain and hardship for the rest of the world. You wouldn't have kidnapped children to turn into emotionless root pawns. You wouldn't have manipulated Hanzo to betray the Akatsuki when they could have had peace and united together to end the fighting around AIM. You wouldn't have allied with Orochimaru and acquired this blood-spliced abomination for an arm meant to subdue Jinchuriki and Biju alike. You didn't want to save the world from itself, Danzo. You tried to enslave it. You tried to control it. You wanted to be this world's god and rule over all with an emotionless attachment to it. Also, any action done, good or ill to the people, would be felt without an ounce of guilt. You wanted to become a true god, which is why you spent so much time watching, spying, and monitoring the actions of those already pursuing different forms of immortality. When the time was right, you could swoop in later to claim the one that fit you best. Until then, you were simply content to let yourself have demigod powers of sorts with all these Sharingan eyes, and Senju DNA to cheat death, explained Naruto while Danzo spat out some of his blood right at the Jinchuriki's feet. I am the only one who can save this world. You have killed the one person capable of bringing about true peace, said Danzo while his life faded away into darkness. No, I killed a tyrant who cared for nothing or no one but himself. I killed a man who was so afraid of death, he chose to go so far as to kill others in the pursuit of cheating it, and become a god in the belief gods can't die, replied Naruto with Danzo gurgling blood from his mouth. Gods can't die, whispered Danzo before his head fell back and the man's life left his body. Actually, they do die, Danzo. The main difference between us and them is they live a lot longer. It's really all about their lifespan when you get right down to it, replied Naruto before stabbing Danzo's eye holding the Sharingan before pulling the sword out. This is no genjutsu here. This is the real body of Shimura, Danzo, said Nagato with his Rinnegan active to ensure Danzo didn't try to pull a fast one on them. Agreed, said Hinata while she saw the body with her Byakugan and knew there wasn't a genjutsu to deceive them. Burn the body. The last thing anyone in this world needs is for someone to come along and pick up the pieces of this filth to replicate what happened to him, replied Naruto, as he walked away from the body with Hinata beside him, and felt the heat from the fire jutsu used to burn Danzo's corpse seconds later. Who do you think will take over as Hokage once everything settles down? Asked Hinata with Naruto shrugging. Don't know. It's hard to say with so many shinobi from Konoha, who supported Danzo, and his viper's nest of slime now dead. The next Hokage will have to be someone strong, yet wise enough to remove the stain of dishonor on it. Someone who won't let the seat or the hat go to their head. Regardless of whoever is chosen, I trust the next Hokage won't do anything to get revenge on us, or the other 4 shinobi villages, said Naruto while looking over at the Hyuga girl and smiled at her. You could do it. You could be Hokage, offered Hinata while Naruto shook his head. No, that dream was a lie. The Sandaime put that lie in my head so I would stay loyal to Konoha. To strive for an impossible dream and never give up in trying to achieve it. He knew Konoha would never accept me in the village long after he died. He also knew I would never be Hokage. I secretly checked all the laws pertaining to being qualified for the position. The old bastard had laws put in place to deny a Jinchuriki the right to being the Hokage on ground that Jinchuriki are frontline assault units in war and a Hokage needs to be behind his shinobi to give them commands. My father had actually repealed the law when he was Hokage so my mother could apply for it in the event something happened to him during his reign. But when the Sandaime came back, he reversed my father's decision, and made even stricter laws surrounding it so the only way it could be repealed again was if all the council members and clan heads agreed to the repeal of the law, replied Naruto with Hinata looking at him in shock. That's horrible, said Hinata with Naruto nodding. Yeah, the law is still in effect even now. Not that it matters to me. If the next Hokage manages to reverse it, I still won't try to run for the position. I have too many duties and responsibilities as the Uzumaki clan head. I basically rule over all of Uzu now that is fully up and running, added Naruto with Hinata looking down sadly. I see. And just who is your future wife among your clan going to be? Surely there is one among them worthy of being your wife and future mother of your children. Asked Hinata while Naruto let out a nervous chuckle. Well, I will admit I did have a few offers of marriage from some of the female members of the clan. But I never accepted, replied Naruto while Hinata was surprised he didn't say yes since she was sure her crush had women from the clan if not other places wishing to be his wife. Oh, why is that? Asked Hinata curiously. Because while they were all great in terms of one day being my wife, my heart already belonged to another. You to be exact, answered Naruto with Hinata looking shocked and her face going cherry red. Me? Why me? Asked Hinata, as she thought he was dead for 4 long years, and could not see why the blonde would be interested in her. Because during that time, I was raised by my clan, and they taught me many things about what to look for in terms love. In terms of who I would want to be my future wife and helping me lead the clan. With their help, I saw Sakura for the horrible person she truly was, and looked deeper in myself for who was that special someone. Looking back on my memories, I noticed you were always following me, blushing when I looked in your direction, and realized you had a major crush on me, replied Naruto with Hinata blushing further now at being told he had been followed by her. It was so embarrassing. I'm sorry if I made myself out to be a stalker. I saw how so many people hated you and I didn't know why. The more I watched you, the more you interested me, and in a way I admired you for putting up with everyone who hated you. How you never gave up. How you kept on trying no matter how hard people knocked you down and tried to keep you down, said Hinata while looking like her former shy self now. Thanks. After all of that, I decided to do a little snooping, and following you on my own to see just how you would react to my death when the village broadcast it for everyone to hear. I was very flattered, added Naruto with Hinata blushing even further since he no doubt saw her more violent side when regarding those who bad-mouthed him. They had no right to say and do all those horrible things about you, remarked Hinata while Naruto smirked. No, but it was refreshing to see that out of everyone in the village, you were among the very rare few who actually showed they gave a damn, replied Naruto before he grabbed Hinata's hand and gave it a loving squeeze. I'm not that special, whispered Hinata while Naruto gave her hand a loving squeeze a second time. Not from what I have seen. Come on, let's deal with the aftermath of this and go from there, said Naruto with the Hyuga beside him nodding. Epilogue years later. The years following the now dubbed Crimson Wedding, Konoha had slowly, like the speed of a glacier, finally managed to show signs of being great again. It had not been easy. Nowhere near easy. The village had a major black eye after Naruto had revealed Konoha's dirty little secrets that basically made them public enemy number 1 for the world after all the crap done by Danzo during his time as Hokage. And not just Danzo either. But the former Sandaime Hokage, Koharu, Homura, Jiraiya, and even a few Anbu commanders they planned to carry about their orders to the letter. Fortunately, with all these individuals now dead, a new Hokage was now sitting in the chair, and ruling over Konoha. Someone who would do things right and ensure the village would not make the same mistakes that 2 out of 3 past Hokages had done in his place. His name, Maida Guy. Yes. That Maida Guy. The same Maida Guy who goes on about the flames of youth and exercises every day to his heart's content with his, what some would call, unusual bundle of energy. At the moment, he was currently battling the one thing even his usual energy-filled self couldn't seem to combat no matter how hard the man tried. The greatest and most infamous enemy that was the bane of all cages and daimyos alike. Paperwork. Though it wasn't like Guy didn't have help. He had his old team come to help him with his duties. It had been a trying time for them, the other rookies, and their fellow senseis with the fallout of the Crimson Wedding. Sarutobi Konohamaru became the man's chosen successor to the title and could be seen sitting in meetings with the man in order to watch how things were done so he could learn from him. Kakashi, for his constant failures as a Junin, but as a sensei to Team 7, and of course showing favoritism by training only Sasuke, not to mention teaching him the Chidori, during that time, was imprisoned within a cell in Uzu. He even had his Sharingan eye surgically removed by Tsunade before the eye itself was destroyed by Naruto himself. And he wasn't the only one. Hiashi was sent to the prison in Uzu for his own crimes against Hinata, including his action in arranging the marriage with the Uchiha. Many within the main family weren't thrilled by this, but they had little choice regarding the issue due to Hyuga clan being in deep trouble with the Uzumaki clan. What no one outside of either the Uzumaki clan or the Hyuga clan main family knew was how the cage bird seal was formed. The Uzumaki clan had made a bloodline protection seal for the Hyuga clan ages ago, long before the shinobi villages had been founded. The overall purpose of the seal was to do what the cage bird seal did, with the exception of the hole cause pain to the nerve centers of the brain to the point of frying it if kept active for too long. After the Hyuga clan had made alterations to the seal into what they used up to the very present day, despite promising not to change it, they placed the newly renamed cage bird seal on the more gullible and naive members of the clan have it placed on them. Only to find out about the deception until it was too late, and generation after generation of their side of the family within the clan being forced into enslavement in all but name. Though after Naruto brought the issue to light for Hinata, it no longer mattered anymore, since he not only found a way to break the seal, but gave all of the Hyuga clan a new seal to protect their bloodline. The only difference now to back then was Naruto had set it up so the seal could only be applied on the back of the neck of the Hyuga it was placed on. He also secretly designed it with safeguards within the major complex parts of the seal itself to protect the new seal against tampering, so it could not be altered by a Hyuga with delusions of enslaving certain parts of the clan again. As for the future of the Hyuga clan, it was decided that Neji, being considered among the strongest of the clan, would lead. Hanabi had felt conflicted due to that decision because she had been groomed to being the new clan head to succeed her father even before Hinata was arranged to marry the Uchiha. After seeing Hinata's newly found strength following the Kyuubi Jinchuriki's assumed death was too much for the elders or Hiashi to handle. Hence why they felt her being married to the Uchiha, and focusing on Hanabi being the new clan head was a safer choice to lead. But with the Hyuga elders now dead and Hiashi now imprisoned with his own bloodline sealed within the prison of Uzu, the leader of the clan everyone now wanted was Neji. Hanabi could have challenged the boy for the right to lead the Hyuga clan, but Hanabi knew deep down that Neji was indeed the superior fighter between them, and she would ultimately lose. It was best to let the rightful person lead and help said person when needed to keep the clan strong. The shinobi villages changed their own ways too. Namely regarding their Jinchuriki and how they were treated. Kumo had of course shown their two Jinchuriki could achieve so much when loved and respected by their village. Which Naruto had pointed out happened thanks to his father mentioning it to A and to B years ago after he fought them at one point in time. The Uzumaki clan head even went to point out that mistreating Jinchuriki could only make things worse, as they could be ticking time bombs if hit with enough abuse that their minds snap. While he didn't want them to go so far as say spoil them or even kiss their ass needlessly, Naruto did point out that a beloved Jinchuriki brought out their full potential. Namely due to them wanting to fight to protect their home. Not to mention their loyalty to the village when the time came to defend it would be considered unquestionable. In the end, life for his Jinchuriki brothers and sisters were looking up, and Naruto couldn't be happier about it. Though B was still being a pain in the ass with his rapping. Tsunade herself never set foot in Konoha again. Neither did Shizune. They took what they wanted from the Senju clan home and moved to Uzu. It was here that Tsunade had found love again with an Uzumaki, and they soon had a child together. All thanks to the help of Shizune, who volunteered to be a surrogate mother using Tsunade's eggs she had frozen in storage when hitting 30. But due to her age being well past that time, she had reached the point where having a child conceived naturally was not possible. It made Tsunade feel whole again knowing she had a child to call her own and Shizune was there to help give the child twice the motherly love. Nagato married Konan, which wasn't much of a shock, and the two had a son they named Yahiko after their dear friend from the past. It was also during this time they learned that while pain itself can bring understanding on some level, it was through love that people truly bonded together. The two promised themselves to raise the boy to grow up strong and was loved by his fellow Uzumaki clan members. As for Naruto, he handled the affairs of Uzu, and the Uzumaki clan as a whole with his new wife Uzumaki Hyuga Hinata by his side. With her own knowledge of how to run a clan, she was able to help with any additional clan-related problems that popped up. Not that there were many, but some did pop up from time to time. Namely Konoha wanting to get back in his and the Uzumaki clan's good graces by wanting the alliance the two once had together being restored. Something that was soon not going to happen anytime soon. Of course, Naruto made sure that his duties as the Uzumaki clan head didn't get in the way of him being a loving husband, and eventually a loving father after Hinata became pregnant with his child. In the end, all was right in his world. His enemies were dead, he had alliances with the other 4 shinobi villages, and was now a family man with his clan to support him. And to think, all it took was for some power-hungry brooding emo for an Uchiha to use him as a human shield before throwing him off the bridge to die a watery grave. Naruto almost wanted to thank Sasuke for his actions back then, if the idea of doing so wasn't so stupid in the first place. The Uchiha clan was dead. Long live the Uzumaki clan. The true heir to the will of the Sage of Six Paths in wanting peace.